is up, everybody? So, let's get into this here. Just to make sure that I'm staying on topic, I'm going to keep this handy so that we don't go off of what we're supposed to be doing. So, just to make sure, let me know that everybody can hear me and everything is working properly. You can see my screen and all that good stuff. Hit me in the chat with a 1 if everything is all good. There's probably a delay, so I'll just keep it moving while somebody lets me know. All good? Okay, good. Okay, so start a new folder. I'm not going to use any folder that like there was this My Project folder. Where was that folder? I think that would be in, there it is, yeah. So I'm going to just make a new folder in here. And we will name it attributes, I guess, even though we're not only covering attributes, but I'm just going to name it that. So we got a new folder, and like always, we just take the folder, drop it onto our old VS Code here, and then we have our folder open right there. So we can, what are we going to do? Okay, so let's make another folder and name it img for images. And we'll make another file, not in the image folder. Yeah. That. Another file, and make sure the file doesn't get put in the image folder. If it does, let's say to like, if I have this like selected and I push the new file, then it's gonna get put into the image folder. If that happens, all you gotta do is drag it out like that and then push move. See? Now it's no longer in the image folder. You just like drag it out onto the into the main folder. So, and I spelled that wrong. I spelled it I-M-V. That's supposed to be I-N. N as in Nancy. Index. Okay, so as per usual, we declare the document. And we put the HTML tag and the head tag and the body tag. And in the head, we're going to put some metadata. And we'll put the character set. And description. Tables and what else? Forms. In the HTML opening tag, we need to add an attribute. And the attribute is the language attribute. So the document knows what language that it's written in. So again, attributes, like we've seen them before. Like this is an attribute, this is an attribute, this is an attribute, right? This is an attribute. So we've seen them before, but we just never got into formally what they are and how they're working. So I gave y'all an analogy. So what was your opinion on the email last week so we can communicate? Yeah, the Discord thing. I'm gonna look into that. It might actually be a very good idea. Now, one thing though is that I try to keep. This is the one of the bigger issues. I try to keep everything on like the school. You know what I mean? Like on the school's proprietary stuff. Even me using YouTube, like it took me a while to finally say, okay, I'm going to use YouTube. I was going to do it last year and I didn't because I like to keep everything on, on Blackboard. And there's a few reasons for that. Just because it's all there and it's all, the school stuff. The decision to start using YouTube was because it is just easier for everybody. It's easier for the students to have these async sessions being something that is more easily accessible to them whenever and wherever they want to watch it, like really easily. And it's also easier because the different classes can watch the different content all in one place, which you can't do on Blackboard, which Blackboard needs to allow, which is stupid, but whatever. But starting a Discord, I'm gonna look into it and see, and may or may not decide to do it yet, but I will look into that. So okay, I gave you all an analogy, and this analogy, I'm hoping that for most of y'all will help you remember not only remember but also conceptualize what attributes are, and even help you understand what tags are. Okay, and I've been using this analogy a lot. Like imagine an object. Imagine anything that you look at in your room, or imagine yourself, for example, right? You could say that any tag, all of these tags, they're all things, they're all objects, like I've been saying. Objects have their own characteristics, right? They all have their own defining things. Like if I say car, shouldn't be if I say car, okay, cool, and this is not a real tag, okay? I need to be clear. This is not a real HTML tag. I'm using this as an analogous example to help you conceptualize the concept of this stuff. But if I say car, well, that's very vague, is it not? Because there are like, millions of cars out there, and cars have their own characteristics, like the make, the model, the color, so on. This is just very vague. When you say just car, you think in your head, you just maybe you have some like an outline of a car, right? Like it's just a vague image of a car. But I can add some things to the opening tag of the car to further define it, like make equals, whoops, um, Genesis, right? Model equals 2 point, this is actually my car, 2.0 T, right? 2.0 T coupe. And as I write this, you get a better idea of what this car is. Color equals blue, right? So these attributes give you further information about this thing. You do the same thing if you do it like this and it was about, say, yourself. So here's me. I can put further characteristics about myself, right? Like hair color, whatever, equals black, right? I don't know, hobbies, whatever, gym, like they're just further characteristics to give more information about the thing that you are describing. Okay, so now when we say when we write a div, we could just leave it like that, but we want to add more characteristics to it. Not many, just a class, so that we know what it is. Not only so that we know what it is, but so we can also later on, when we start learning CSS, we can call it up in the CSS and then tell it what to do, right? Div class equals container. So this is like you giving it a name, right? This could be the wrapper also, right? When you're writing class names, you want to give them appropriate names for what they are or how you're going to use that thing, that div. Now, as we talked about, alternatively, you could just say this, right? You could just write a section. And you could also give this a class too, right? Because just because you write it semantically does not mean that you can't have a class. You can still have a class. But again, I think that this is kind of overkill, in my opinion. So div class wrapper. Okay. So inside of the wrapper, we're going to put some stuff in there. We're also going to do something new that we haven't done before. And we're going to comment out some code. Now, why do we comment out code? Commenting out code allows you to write, say, some footnotes or to label things. We're going to do this both in HTML and CSS, more so in CSS, but you know, you're going to do this in every different language you use. When you start using like JavaScript, you're going to do it there. And start writing PHP, you're going to do it in that too. It just is what it is. So we're going to say this is the wrapper for the whole, or not the whole page, because technically this is the where the whole page starts, the HTML. A better way to word this. This is the wrapper for the content of the content and structure. I'll add a little bit more detail. This is a wrapper for the content and the structure of the page so that we can easily control it later with CSS. How is that going to work? Okay, well, later on, when we start using CSS, we'll be able to just take this wrapper and then like size it however wide we want it, so that you can still see the body behind it, or the body and the HTML behind it, and have like a background color type thing. You'll see that later on down the line. So the inside of the wrapper, we're going to put a div class of header and a div class nav, a div class of main, and then the last one will just be div class copyright, it's like the copyright section. So we have object div and its attribute, and on and on and on. What is the attribute doing? In all of these cases, it's telling you a little bit more about this thing, right? It's telling you a little bit more about this div and what it does, because once we give this an attribute, then off the cuff, it makes this div different from this one and all the other ones because it has a different class. Now, as I said before, you can share classes with like I could do this too, and like have this both named wrapper and this one be named header and wrapper. But we're going to talk about that more later on once we get into using CSS. For now, we're going to keep it simple. So, in the header, we're just going to put some h1 and well, whatever. There's no focusing and HTML. Attributes are a part of HTML. Actually, no. We're going to put attributes, tables, and forms. So in that case, yeah. There's a couple of different ways we could do this. but we're just going to do it. Okay, yeah, we're going to do it this way. So in the nav, we're going to make 3 links. Well, we can make 4 links. So we're going to need an OL. And the OL does not need an attribute. There's some times where you're going to need an attribute and sometimes where you're not going to need an attribute. In the case of the OL, the ordered list or the UL, whatever you decide to use, you could do this too. It doesn't really matter. It's serving its purpose, and once we start using CSS, we can still call it up without having a class, because it's inside of here. Remember, we talked about nested elements, right? Like this is a nested element inside of this, and this UL is a nested element inside of this, inside of the div with the class of nav. And the UL is going to have children elements of its own. So sometimes we need to use, like throw a class on something, sometimes we don't. It depends on what we're doing. It depends on if it needs it. And in this case, the UL does not need anything, so we don't bother putting anything on it. List item, a tag, and home. Okay, so we have a list item with an a tag inside of it. And then remember, a tags are used for, so, well, I'm confused. Is this for the page? What is what for the page? Please clarify that question. Oh, I think you might have meant this, probably an old question from earlier. Did you mean this up here? Yeah, that message is a little nuts. Sorry, I didn't have my chat up. Did you mean this commented out stuff here? You meant this then. Line 6. This is for Google, yes. So if you search something on Google, you get this was in the first week, not the first week. The first week was the class intro. The second week, like in HTML1, it explained this meta description or meta name description. When you go to Google and you search something, so let's go to, so if we search up the school, what do we get? We get the title, which is this. So this is the title, which is the title here, right? And then you get the description, this line here, which is all of this stuff in there. Okay? And you want to keep the contents of the meta description to 160 characters, I think. If I remember correctly, it's 160 characters. Let me double check that. How long should description be? Okay, so between 120 and 150 characters. So 160 is only 10 more. It's whatever. That's not going to be that big. See, some are saying 158. So yeah, I would say between 120 and 160 characters, just to keep that, you know. So yeah, that's what that is. Okay, now back to this, the A. Remember, the A is an anchor tag, and the LI is a list item tag. So anytime you want something in a list, like bullet point list, you throw it in a list item tag. But anchor tags are for links. They're for linking to things. Anytime you click on a link on a website or whatever, that is an anchor tag. But for the anchor tag to work, it has to have an attribute. See, look, let's open this, and to open it, right click on the tab up here for the file, and say copy path, and then bring it to your browser, and then post it in there. So, see, there's the link there, but it's not working. Why? Because it does not have an attribute to make it do what it's supposed to do. It needs an href attribute. And this attribute is going to tell the link where you want it to go when it's clicked on. Now there are different ways you can do this. You could do this as an absolute link, which is like http colon slash slash, you know, Google dot, or, you know, screw Google, duckduckgo.com. You could do this, right? Or it should be, in this case, HTTPS. But even if you just put HTTP, it should right, see? And when you mouse over it, you can see at the bottom, it tells, right down here, you'll see where it's going to send you. Right? And then you click it, and then it goes to where you want it to go. That is an absolute link. Right? Or if it's a file that is going to be stored in, say, the same folder, right? Like if I were to make a new file, say delete, I'm just going to name this delete me for now, .html. And then I'm going to write in big old H1, this is a test, right? If I tell this to just go to the file that is within the same folder, delete me.html, right? Refresh that so that it catches the new save. Boom, it brings me to delete me.html, right? Because I just told it, okay, look, there's a file in the same folder. Just go to that file, right? Now there's more that we could do with this. Maybe I should show you. Yeah, I'll show you. So we're in here. Now if I put a new file, which I can't do, that's not going to work. Okay, Here, this will work. If I take the we're in the week 3 folder. Okay, wait, no. We're in this folder. So if I take delete me, which is here, this is the same file I just made, and I'm going to drag its butt out of here and put it in there. So now it's just in the week 3 folder. If I go like this, what did this dot dot forward slash do? Dot dot forward slash told it to go up out of this folder, up out of the attributes folder, and come into this folder, and then look for the delete me. So dot dot forward slash means go one folder up. You see what I'm saying? And if I refresh that, it'll still work. It'll bring me up out of the one folder. See how it brought me out of the one folder? The week 3 folder, no, the attributes folder, my bad. This part here is going to disappear, the attributes part, because it's going out of that folder. And that's what that does. Okay. Or there's a third thing that we can do. And again, the dot dot forward slash works, you know, for multiple folders. So if now the third thing we can do is we could link to parts of the page. How do we do that? We could link to an ID, which is an attribute. We don't have, okay, so let's make one right now. I understand. Then you would put the code into the HTML like how we did for the first page. What do you mean? I understand, and then you would put the code into the HTML like how we did for the first page. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Please clarify that, and then I'll, if we link to another HTML. Okay, yeah. That's what if I think you're talking about, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about when you're generating new pages, and then you like if you made a home HTML, I would edit that with the code. I made a home HTML. Yeah, I think you're talking about something different. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Try to be more specific in what you mean. Or you mean for... Are you talking about what we put in here? The second example you showed links to another page. Yes. And then you would code that page. Yeah. Yeah, so I think you're talking about like when you're generating new pages. Yeah. Last week, did you watch both of the asyncs last week? Um, Check out the second one. We're gonna do the same thing today though, anyway. So when you generate new pages, there's a certain way you want to do it so that it makes it easier for yourself. Always make sure to finish the index page first, and then when everything is done, we're literally just gonna copy all of this and then paste it into the next pages so that it'll be easier. But we'll get to that and I'll show you what I mean. So okay, the the third way that I was talking about, I was here for the first thing. I thought the second one. Yeah, the second one was the same. We just did we just generated a couple pages, but we're gonna do the same thing today anyway, so it's all good. Generating pages just means like it's something that you're always gonna be doing, right? Because you're not only gonna just have one web page, you're gonna have like say three of them or four of them, right? So we're gonna be doing that again just now in a minute. So okay, the third way though, I'll show you this real quick, is if you were to link to parts of the page. To do that, you have to link to an ID. So I'm gonna come up here and give the HTML an ID of home. That way I can use this as the thing that I link to in here, where I just put hashtag home. And you have to put this hashtag in there for it to work, because hashtag is how you call on an ID. So now, if we clicked this, it's not going to do anything um, because the page isn't long enough for it to. But if the page was long enough and the navigation was following you down the screen and you click this, it would zoom back up to the top of the screen, this screen, right? So that's the third way that you can do a link of this sort. But what we're going to do though is we're going to do it the other way. We're going to do it where we have like whoops, about.html. No, wait, sorry, my bad. This is going to be index.html. And then we're going to put the next one, which will be about.html. And we could just copy this and paste it in there and change what we need to change. So all we need to change is this, about.html. And then we need to change the plain text here so that it doesn't say home, like it should say about. Actually, in this case, we can say not about.html. We can name it tables.html. So home tables.html, and the third one will be form.html, and then form or forms, whatever. So home, tables, forms. In the main now, we're going to put a, what's it called? Let me just picture it in my head real quick. We don't need to put any structure. If we're just going to put, okay, yeah, it's all good. So we can just put some h1, and then we'll put attributes. And then we're going to put in h2, attributes describe more about an element. That's really all we need to say. Attributes describe more about an element. They are, wait, attributes are placed, placed within the opening tag. Never in the closing tag. Right. Any more that I need to say about these? Example. Well, the examples in the lecture note. But yeah, like that's just a little. I just want to put a little bit about them there, and then let's see here. So wait, what was the code again? No, this is here. I'll show you what this is supposed to look like. This is just this isn't a part of the code. Like this is gonna show up on the front end. It's just showing you that like this is like an opening tag and this is like a closing tag. It's just giving you like an example so that when we look at it here, let's see, the closing one doesn't show up because we have to do it this way, which is going to be, here, you got to write it like this then. And copy. All right, what am I doing? And we got to use LG and then this and so let me see if the symbols. There, my bad. That's not working. Hold on one second. So now it's showing me. Hold on one second. LG and GT. So what the hell isn't that working? Ampersand LT colon ampersand GT colon. That's what I had. Maybe that's throwing it off. No, see that. Hold on. Let me find the symbol for the forward slash. So LT, GT, those are correct. I need a different list. Give me 1 second. Because one of them damn symbols is not showing up properly. And just give me a regular damn table with this list, man. There. And SOL. So ampersand. Okay, now let me see if this damn thing will work. Nope. Ugh. Oh gee. Lots and lots of symbols. Yeah, see? And oh shit. My bad. This see and here's an example of something that we are going to encounter. And something that more so when we start doing what's it called, CSS, is sometimes you'll make a mistake, like I just did. I have a typo here. This is supposed to be LT instead of LG. Stupid mistake, right? But sometimes when you make a typo, sometimes it could be one character that'll throw off what you're doing, and you have to go and find the bug, find the typo, and fix it, which is what just happened there. See, that T was supposed to be, or that this was, I had as a G, it's supposed to be a T, and now it'll work. See? There. So that was the problem with that. I'm going to paste these in the chat so that everybody gets those. It's ampersand LT colon ampersand SOL colon ampersand GT colon, which makes this. So attributes describe yada yada yada, blah blah blah. An example, I guess we can put, would be ampersand LT colon, and then div ampersand. I'm gonna paste this all in the chat because I can't type it. Here's the thing: you can't type these inside of a paragraph tag. I'm trying to write this in a way that it shows up on the front end, so that you can use this as like a little cheat sheet type of thing. and that you can just view it in the web browser, and then you can see it in there, which means I gotta type it all weird. Like, I gotta type it with those symbols. Or we could just type it in here, but I mean, I don't know. So, yeah, this is the crappy part. So, um, ampersand LT colon div ampersand GT colon class equals something. Class equals, but maybe I should write this in a way where it's more, instead of putting div, put element attribute equals value. Okay, before that, we're going to put in here example. Example. Element equals attribute equals value. So let's see if this looks correct. There. Example. Element, and this, my bad, it should be at the end here. So there. Element attribute equals value. So I'm going to paste this part here within the paragraph tags into the chat so that you can just copy and paste it just in case you have a typo or anything like that. Sorry, there's no other way around it. I have to write it this way so that it shows up in the front end properly, so that you can, again, have this as a cheat sheet so that you can look through it, but also learn while we're building this little mini site up. So I'm just gonna put a little bit more. Wait, I should describe more about an element. Yeah. Element attribute equals value. I'm gonna put in here the analogy that I said earlier. So I said, think about it like when you hold on. Think about it like a car. The word car is very vague. But there are more attributes you can add to further describe the car, like its make and its model and car and color. Whoops. So yeah, think about it like a car. There are more attributes you can use to further describe the object and give it more meaning, more of a description. Okay, now we're gonna make our. I mean, that's really Unless I'm missing something. But that's pretty much the gist of it. What we can add in here is a link to a list of attributes. This is a good list here. So we're going to come up here and we're going to copy this link and we're going to paste that in here. I'm going to put a break, click, or no, here, A, here for full list of attributes. And we're going to add the attribute into the A tag, href equals, and we're going to paste that link in there. Just paste it in there. And then that'll work. Bam. Alright. Our little cheat sheet is starting to come together. Here, one thing we can add. We can add in here where the ampersand LT and the ampersand GT are. We can just add this, the closing tag, ampersand LT semicolon, and then the /, which is ampersand SOL, ampersand SOL colon, and then again the ampersand GT colon. This here, these three will make the closing tag at the end there so that you know, right? Or we could put, after sol, put element like that, so it looks like that, because this is the element attribute value, and then the closing element tag. Here, I will paste that into the chat as well, like that. Just so that it looks full, right? It looks like it's finished. Okay, so for the copyright part, we're just going to put H4 again with the ampersand, copy 2021, you know, whatever. Yeah. Now, we can also continue writing commented out code. So in here, we're just going to mark off these sections. This is the header of the site. This is the main nav. And notice how, whoops. Notice how when I put the opening triangle bracket exclamation dash dash, that's when it goes dark green and you can write whatever in between the two front dashes and the two ending dashes, whatever you want in there, right? And it'll just be commented out code. You won't see it in the front end. It'll show up if you go to, like if you go to inspect or view page source or inspect element or whatever. See, you'll see it in there. And you will also see it in inspect element code if you go up in here, right? But it doesn't show up on the front end, so it's all good. This is the main content, and then this is the copy section. There. So nice and easy to read. Right? Yeah, good to go. Okay, so now we're at the point where we can start generating new pages. Because again, you don't go to some website and it's only one page. I mean, sometimes you do, but in this case, and for your assignment, right, and for your assignment, this is what you're going to have to do. Exactly what we've done up to this point. Well, not exactly, but similar. The content will be different, but all the rest is going to be very similar. And then you're going to have to generate new pages. But you don't want to have to rewrite all of this stuff over and over and over again. There's no point of doing that, right? That's not the point. You want to make your life as easy as possible. And as one of the ways of making your life as easy as possible is getting the gist of writing this stuff the proper way, just like how we did it just now. Having proper indents, right? Proper indents. In this case, all of these things here are siblings, so it's all good. Again, proper indents. All of this is properly formatted, which makes it easy to read. We finish up the first page, and then when we need to start generating new pages, we can just make those new pages. The second page is table, tables.html, and we're just gonna straight up run up in here, copy everything, and paste it into the second page. Save it. Now, the only things we need to change, all of this is going to stay the same. All the stuff in the head, it's all going to stay the same. All of this is going to stay the same because you want to have all of this to be consistent. Think of any other website you go to. There are certain things that don't change. The header doesn't change usually. The navigation does not change. The only thing that we're going to change is the main content. So instead of attributes, this is going to say tables, right? And then here, instead of this little write-up about attributes, we're going to write about tables because that's what we're going to be doing. So tables allow you to display table data. It's the best tool for keeping data stuff all nice and neat. And in case you were wondering, yes, you can put emojis in here if you can call them up on your thing. They do work inside of HTML. For some reason mine's not working when I push my hotkey for it. That's weird. Anyway, so that's about tables. Now we're going to add a table. So, table. And we'll put, instead of writing it so that you can see it in the front end, we're just going to write it. On the front end, it's just going to look like a table, but we'll add footnotes here to start a table. Just use a table tag. That's all you got to do. Use a table tag. And then we put a table row. So let's see. So we already have all this stuff already good to go. Our nav already works, right? On both pages. Why does it work on both pages already? Because we did it right the first time. And all we had to do is copy and paste it. Copy and paste it all in a new thing. So where's the table? It's on here somewhere. Inspect. Let's find the table. Oh, there it is. So the table's there, but you can't see it because it doesn't have a size. I could say table width equals 60%. We would then, see, it's still not gonna, because there's nothing in it, so like it's there, but it's there, but it's like just has no content yet. So I can't show you what I was going to show you there yet. But I wanted to show you the working example of the little thing that I drew yesterday in the class. It's all good though. So first we put a table, then we put a table row, then we put some table data. So there's our first table data. There's our table row. There's our table. Now the table, it won't take up the full width. Well, like the table is a, it is a block element, but it's only going to take up the space of, like, how do I put this? It is a block element, so it takes up the full width of the container, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to automatically size these to do that, if you get what I'm saying. So each one of these that I put, actually, this is going to work with, no, that's not going to work. I want to try to do this without using, screw it. Don't do what I just did. I'm just doing this to, that's not even going to work the way that I want it to. No, it's not. Okay, Do not do what I'm about to do, because this is something that is going. I'm going ahead, but I'm doing this to so that I can make it easier for you to see what's happening. So don't do what I'm about to do. Just just let me do this, and you'll learn what I'm doing later. So I just gotta put okay. So just don't mind any of that stuff. Um, but I just did that so that you can easily see what is what, and it'll make more sense in your mind what you are about to look at, okay? So, the table row adds a table row, and every time you add a new table data, it's going to add another cell, right? So, table data. So, there, see? And if we add another one, there, it'll just keep adding more and more and more. And if I went and just copied this and pasted it, then there would just be more and more and more going across the screen. Now, the table itself is has a black border, and the table datas have a blue border. Okay, so you can see this is the table itself, and the blue dashed border is the table cells. All right. Now, I guess I could say table, put the table row there and say but I mean, yeah, that ain't even gonna work. So there's no point in that. Because the table row is just the row. There's other things that you can do to get that to like to alter the table row, but it's a little bit finicky. Now we can add another table row, right? And once we add just the table row, you'll see that it got put in there because this got a little bit of space, but we got to add something into it. Um, yeah. So you can see that it added that cell in there, and it'll do the exact same thing if I just keep adding cells in there. Table data. It'll keep adding those cells, right? So let me just do this and copy that and paste this in there so that there. So it's equal amount of cells. Um, and on and on and on. You could do this for as many times as you would need. You see? And then it'll keep adding more and more and more. So, let me just make sure. So it's the same like this, but I just wanted to outline it so that you could know what part is what part when you look at the code and you can visualize it on the screen, right? So the width thing here should work now that there's stuff in there. That's last week. Nope, nope, yep. So, see here, table width equals double quotes 100%, and now you see that will space itself 100% the width of the container. If I tell this to be width 500 pixels, then it will only be 500 pixels no matter what. Let me make this more. Let me make this 1000 pixels. See how it gets clipped? Right? See how it clips there? This is why, for certain things, we want to use percentages and not pixel amounts. You can also use like centimeter amounts. There's a bunch of different measurements, units of measure you can use. But I'm going to just put it like this, 80%. You should be able to rock with that, right? So 80%. What else we got? Border stuff, cell padding, cell spacing. So, well, the border doesn't work. And the thing is that border, look, for this border stuff, you should really do that with CSS, not this way. I mean, I'm not gonna like hide knowledge from you, but there's a certain ways that you should do it versus other ways that you should not do it. And this doesn't even work in some browsers anymore. Let's see if this even works, because I know some browsers have stopped. Yeah, see, that's not even gonna work. You would have to do that with CSS. So some browsers it will work. Maybe some older browsers it will still work, but some it won't work. Cell padding and cell spacing will still work. But these are also things that you can do in CSS. So see if I keep adding to this over exaggerated cell padding 40, right? And then cell spacing equals 10. See, now the actual cells themselves are coming apart from each other. Let's over exaggerate this. Let's see what it does. See? So these are the cells. The black is the what's it called? The table itself. The blue is the cells. And each of these is a table row. Right? So cell padding, cell spacing, we still got to do column span. And the align. Like we can table row align right. That didn't work. Even these align attributes, I would rather do that in CSS. Let's see if it'll work. I'll do here. Because these are all just aligned center. Nope. This is all stuff we should do in CSS though still. Because it's another thing that some browsers might not work with that. But what we'll do here is take away one of these cells. So I just took away the last cell of the first table row, so that's gone. I'm going to tell this second last one, or the new last table cell in the first row, to call span 2. To span itself over 2 columns. Right? And then I'll just put in this was a cell, but we spend this was a cell, but we span the second last one over 2 cells. Using the call span, we could do the same thing down here if we wanted to. We could put call span. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Call span 5. No, 6. 5, 6. What am I talking about? I can't count today. Can't type. Well, that's the spanning part. Don't bother trying to do the border part. Here, if you really wanted, no, yeah, just don't. I don't want you to focus on doing the border thing, like what I did down there. In the border attribute, it's not gonna. Some browsers it's not gonna work. It used to work, but it's different now. We gotta wait to do that when we get into the CSS part, which we'll be doing that I think next week. So don't worry about it for now. And I don't want you to worry about trying to put CSS in your assignment either. I just want you to focus on what you need to be doing. So let's just add real quick footnotes for the table row. Dash dash. TR is a table row. I should just put that in small. TR is table row. Let's actually change something. See, in the first table row, we're just going to run up on these TDs, and we're going to change the Ds to H. So TH, TH. Just change all the D's to H's. Because like I talked about in the other yesterday, is that TD is table data, TH is table heading. And you're going to see the difference here. Once I refresh this, what happens? These just got bold because table heading, right? So we're going to put a footnote here and say TH is table heading. All it does is makes the font in font bold. That's it. And then we'll put a footnote above here in the second table row. TD is just a regular old table data. Just like that. And then we'll put, we could put a footnote here saying column span lets you span a cell over columns. And there's our table. Okay, now let's get onto the last page because we only got half an hour. Should be more than enough time, but just want to make sure that we get this done so that you know what to do for your assignment. Form, is it forms or form? Form.html. But note how we are making sure that these here match the file names that we give them there. If they don't match, then they're not going to work. They have to match. Because what we are doing is instructing this link to look for this file. So you got to remember that. They have to match. And what we're going to do again is copy everything. So Control A or Command A. Select everything. And then Command Copy. Command V. Paste. We're doing the same thing again. All of this stuff is going to be the same except the stuff in here. We're going to change attributes to form, or forms now. And all of this is going to be different. And this is going to be different. So instead of this, it's going to say, what's it face? Forms allow you to collect user inputs. So you can hack them. Joking. Collect user input. So you can just collect whatever data you may need. Right? So to make a form, start with form tags. Simple form tags. So we're going to get rid of all this from before. Form. Alright. Now let me just make sure, go down there so I can make sure I cover everything. We covered cell spacing, cell padding. We're definitely going to be talking more about this stuff when we get to the CSS bits of our journey, which will be starting soon. So yeah, we start with a form tag. Let me just check the chat. Okay. Yeah, it would make it better. I want to keep this simple, but there's one thing that I should show you. Because it's like the more better way of doing it. Like better than doing this. So yeah, let me just do this. Okay, so we're just gonna make, we can just make a couple things here. So we make the form, now we're gonna make some things. Now, okay, just don't copy exactly what I'm doing. Don't copy what I'm doing right now. You would think that, and you could do this, right? First name. I'm actually going to show you the difference between this and what I'm going to show you. So I guess you can follow along and it's all good. So first name, and we're going to expand on this whole form thing later on down the line because there's a few things, but it's whatever. So first name, break, and then input type. We got to tell it what type of input it is. There's a whole heap of them, right? And keep in mind, look, let's look at some of the types of inputs there are. Button, checkbox, color, date, datetime, datetime local, email, file, hidden, image, month, number, password, radio, range, reset, search, submit, telephone number, text, time, URL, week. It's a whole heap of them. If you want a regular text box, which will allow letters, numbers, whatever, just in one little text box, you know, you put this. This is a regular text box. However, if you're collecting something like an email, you use email. Why? Because it won't allow you to put anything other than an email in here. There's no send button, but here, I'll just throw one in. Input type submit. See? Yada 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 is missing an at. Please include an at symbol because I changed it to email. So it's looking for an email address. Right? If I just put this back to text, then it'll just take whatever the heck I put in there. Right? Notice how it didn't do the thing where it says asking for email address. Same if you're looking for a telephone number, right, or a number just in general. If I go in here, I think I gotta refresh it. The second one is a number. So see, it's gonna look for a number, but it won't let me put any letters in there. Okay, well that let me put. Well, yeah, E, it will let you put E, because that's part of the whole numerical thingy. So these allow you to be more specific, right? Same with URL, it'll ask for URL. If you put password, then here, because now there's two of these, I gotta put, this just so that it doesn't look all stupid. Like this. Should look like this. But, so you notice the password now when I type, there's a dot, 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 dot in there, whereas the first name is like this, right? So this could be like a username. There, right? So password, then there is, obviously there's checkbox, radio, which we covered in the lecture, but there's a whole heap of them, right? There's the date one. The date one will give you a nice little calendar, right? So they all have their own work that they put in. But here, type whatever. I'll just put password for now. Here is the thing. There is a little bit different of a way that we can do this. Mostly to do with these. See when I click on this, nothing happens down here because this is paragraph text, which you can use it, and it's not like you're breaking some cardinal law. You go to plenty production websites and you'll have a form on it, and they used paragraph tags for these. But a better way of doing it is using a label tag. But when we use a label tag, we have to tell it what it's for. And to tell it what it's for, you have to give its corresponding input field an ID, right? So we'll just name this one user underscore name. So label for, and we have to match this up here. Label for username. And then inside of the label, we have to put whatever, because this is what shows up on the front end, right? Like, you know, so we got to put username in here, like this. So we make a label for this field. Now notice when I click on username now, it highlights this. Whereas when I click this now, it does not do the same. Because this one is still paragraph text. This one is a label. So the label gives us functionality for this form. You know what I mean? That's why it's better to use these for the purpose of the form rather than paragraph. Now again, is it a really big deal? No, it's not. But you know, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But one of them works more than the other one, I guess is the best way to put it. So remember, we're connecting dots. Label for, we have to tell it what it's for. And to tell it what it's for, we have to give this input an ID. It would be the same if, and that's missing its closing bracket there. It would be the same if we did that same down here. Label for PW for password. Password. Now it won't work until we give it another attribute because this input has only one attribute now. You have to give it a second attribute, which is going to be the ID of password. Or ID of PW. Now this will work. And we're gonna need to break this up here. So we're gonna put a BR tag there. Remember I talked about using break tags. Why is this indent off? Little things like that piss me off, man. Whatever. That little thing will like, ugh. Anyway, remember I talked about using these breaks. You don't want to be doing stuff like this, like putting a whole heap of them in there. You don't want to be doing that. I mean, yeah, it's going to add more space, but there's a different way of doing it using CSS that is the better way. If you need to put more space into it like that, then just do it how I'm going to show you in CSS when we get to using CSS. But you don't want to be having a whole bunch of break tags. I guess all these indents were how the hell that happened. There. Much better. This indent must be off too. Okay. So we got our username, password, then we can put another break, and then we can put let me check what was next on here because I can't remember. We did a text area, we did radio buttons. So yeah, we can do one of these. So input, yeah, put type radio. Name. What are we gonna ask? I guess we can do the same example there. What kind of car do you like? Or like, you know, what's the color of your eyes or something. So name, we'll just do the car thing. So Lambo. So if we look at this now, it's not going to be finished. It's just going to have a button there. So we got to put something by the button. So you could put like this, some paragraph text. But the paragraph text, one thing to remember is that it's going to create its own line, because paragraph text is a block element. In the example, or in the what's it called, the lecture, it's like this, where it's just not wrapped in anything. Or you could do something like and put this in the paragraph. Like that. You could do that as well. There's kind of no like wax on, wax off to it. For now, we're just going to leave it like this. All right. We could also wrap this in its own div. But I don't really want to overcomplicate it any more than it needs to be. So, because I want it to be like easy for you to assimilate this in your mind. So, type radio name car value equals what other cars are there? I don't know. Saab. I don't know. I'm like trying to think. I'm like, there's a million cars in my head right now. Saab. And then we'll just do the same thing. Input type radio name car value Genesis. And then before that, we will put some H5 and say, what's your car game like? Right? So that would be the radio buttons. Checkbox buttons are very similar. It's the same thing. It's just the only difference between radio and checkbox is how it behaves, right? Like if I just change this to checkbox, it's gonna still work. It's just that checkboxes work. Checkbox allows you to select multiple things, whereas radio buttons will not. Radio buttons will only let you choose one thing. I mean, you could own the Genesis, the Saab, and the Lambo, so it's whatever, right? It's all good. Now, what else we gotta go through? Oh yeah, the select this select list or whatever. So we can just do username, what's your card game like? And then we can ask another question in some H5 and say, what hobbies, I guess, or I don't know. Whatever. I'll just do the eye color thing. Eye color. So to do that, because we don't need the form, we already have that up here. We just need the select and the options, right? So select, right, which is the parent container, right? And then we can just put options with the value. So select name equals, I guess, eyes. And then for the options, we just put option and then like, you know, the color, right? So, and then the value attribute. So if we look at this now, again, it's not going to be done because we need to put more. But see, every option we put in there is going to be a new select thing. So black, blue, green, brown, red. Nobody has red eyes, but whatever. Just imagine we're playing Dark Souls or something. You know, just like that. And last but not least, and right on time, we need to put a submit button. And the submit button is what's going to allow you to send the form. So we should put a break there. This is a little messy. I mean, it's not the worst to read. We've kind of spaced out things. We could space things out a little more just to make it easier on the eyes. Typically, though, there's more that we would do with this form, but we'll do that later. Like, we're going to be later on down the line working with forms more, and we're going to be adding more things in here to kind of break up the form into different parts, typically using field sets. But I kind of want you to not be too, you know, but that's better to look at. So, name, password, what's your car, what's your eye color, and the submit button. submit it, and then it takes the form and does the whatever action you told it to do in here. Now when I put the action in there, it's going to look for that file and it's going to not find it, but it's whatever. Typically it would be looking for this. And this PHP file would tell it what to do, and yada yada yada. So is that like you could put something like that, where it just says sent. Let me push the submit button. So is everybody understanding this? Yeah, your BR tag has a little indent too. Yeah, that was weird. For our first assignment, the student portal, can we put a couple BR tags since? Yes, I mean, I'm not gonna get all, like, a ways about it if you have like two BR tags or something. Like, for example, let's say here, I have two BR tags. I'm not gonna get too bent out of shape for that, but it's something that you really do not want to get into the habit of doing. It just doesn't, it's just not, no, like, you know, it's just not something you want to get in the habit of doing. It's a really bad habit, trust me it is, because you're going to start seeing, you're just going to start seeing shit like that, man. It's not good. You know, it's not good. It just makes your HTML really, really hard to read. So use the BR tag sparingly. Just please use them sparingly. So far so good. Extremely lots of things to learn. Time to practice. Yes, yes. You gotta keep practicing. And I'm gonna keep drilling you. I'm gonna keep when we do these code-alongs, we're gonna just keep doing it from the top, and eventually you're just gonna get used to it, right? So I hold your hand and walk you through it, and eventually you'll crawl, then you'll walk, then you'll run, and then you won't need me no more, and then you can go do your thing, right? So that is the rundown. That right there is everything you're gonna need to get your assignment done, right? Well, you got to add images, but I'm gonna let you figure that one out. We already did that last week, so I mean, can't make it too easy for y'all. All right, so we can end the stream there. So yeah, other than that, if you need anything, shoot me an email. And if not, then I will see you in the next class.